Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Colamtrano and I'm here to inform you and educate you and the other students about the importance of protecting and conserving the community's soil, water, and energy resources and as well as how to do so. Imagine a world without the resources we need, what would it be like? Many of you may wonder what these resources are, and I'm here to address your inquiries. So let us start with the sources of energy. An energy source is anything that has the capacity to generate electricity, move items, produce heat, or even sustain life. We can do a lot by using energy, including cooking, keeping meals warm, even providing fuel for fire, and many other things. Most of the energy we use today came from fossil fuels, stored solar energy. So a lot of you may be wondering what are the energy sources utilized by the communities in the country and how are they harnessed? So number one is geothermal. Water is injected deep underground and returns as steam or hot water to drive a turbine and electric power generation. The Philippines has 7 geothermal fields which supplies about 12% of our nation's electricity. Next is hydroelectric energy. It's a form of energy that harnesses the power of water in motion. Hydropower utilizes turbines and generators to convert that kinetic energy into electricity, which is then fed into the electrical grids to power homes, businesses, industries, and last but not the least is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels came from decomposing plants and animals. These fuels contain carbon and hydrogen, which can be burned for coal, oil, and natural gas, are examples of fossil fuels. In the homes, they are burned to produce heat, and in power stations to produce electricity. Are you still able to keep up? Even if there may be positive benefits to using energy resources, there will also likely be negatives. So let us first go to geothermal issues. Number 1. Greenhouse emission. The extraction of geothermal energy from the ground leads to the release of greenhouse gases like hydrogen, sulfide, carbon dioxide, methane, and ammonia. Next is water quality and use. Pumping hot water from the ground that contains high sulfur and salt can affect the water quality for human use. Next is to be followed by the issues on hydroelectric energy. Number 1 is losing habitats for marine life and land use. Dams can damage or otherwise have an impact on the environment, both upstream and downstream. Dams also often form reservoirs that flood large areas and displaces natural habitats. People who have lived in an area their whole life may be forced to move, and it can change the temperature of water that is not suitable for marine life, and this is especially true in humid and in tropical environments. Lastly is the issues on fossil fuels. Number 1 is global warming. When fossil fuels are burned, they release a large amount of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the air, which risks further sea levels, extreme weather, biodiversity loss, and species extinction. Next is land degradation and habitat destruction. Fossil fuels extraction, forest loss, and farmland degradation are part of climate change. Accountancy, rising levels of heat drought are likely to accompany climate change, increasing the area of desert or land to arid support life and industry. Fossil fuels extraction result in pollution of surrounding air, water, lands, and destructions of forests. So the downsides of using various energy sources can be mitigated in numbers of ways. The Philippines has among the highest electricity prices in Asia, as resulting of its strong reliance on imported fuel. Installing energy-efficient building systems and equipments can save energy and reduce your environmental footprint. Clean, renewable energy systems such as solar, wind, can reduce our impact on the environment significantly. Given your knowledge on energy resources, let us move on to discuss water resources. Water resources is an entire range of natural waters that occur on the earth and that are potential use for humans. So what are the water resources in the Philippines? Are they readily available for human consumption? The country is endowed with rich natural resources, including waters, which are essential for the country's economic development. Water resources in the Philippines include inland fresh like rivers, lakes, groundwater, and marine, which are bay, coastal, and oceanic waters. And some can be available for human consumption, such as number 1, salt water. Philippines Sea, where the majority of our fishermen get fish for source of food, and it is available for human consumption. Next is groundwater. Groundwater contributes 14% of the total resource potential of the Philippines. 60% of the groundwater extraction is without water right permits. Next is lakes, and then next is rivers. The Philippines has 412 principal river basins and 119 proclaimed watersheds, of which are 19 considered major, and the longest river is in Cagayan in Region 2. And if you are wondering if human usability affects the water quality and availability are impacted by human activities, they do have an impact. So number one is water pollution. Toxic substances from farms, towns, and factories readily dissolve into and mix with water causes pollution. Next is human activities. Urban and industrial development like farming, mining, are some of the factors affecting the water quality. Next is marine dumping, can destroy or degrade important habitat for aquatic species and cause coastal erosion and salinization, which affect the health and productivity of the marine environment. Last is industrial waste. Industrial waste can be toxic, reactive, carcinogenic, or ignitable. Therefore, without proper treatment and management strategies, the discharging of the waste into the water bodies can be dreadful and environment and health effects. There must be ways to save and maintain water resources for future generations since we wouldn't want to harm our own natural water supplies, such as number one, dispose harmful materials properly. A number of products used at home contain hazardous or toxic substances that can contaminate ground or surface water. Number two is take shorter showers. Number three is water your lawns only if it's needed. And lastly is number four, checks for leaks in pipes, hoses, faucets, couplings, and check your toilets for leaks. Let us talk about soil resources now that we've covered water resources and their significance. Soil resource is a type of environmental asset that offers a variety of ecosystem services. So you students may be curious on how soil resources are used in the nation. So to address your question, with about half of the cultivated area dedicated to it, rice is the traditional crop and the foundation of the rural agricultural economy. Nearly 3/4 of the population eats as its staple. The largest producer are located in Luzon, Central Plain. The majority of rice farms in the Philippines only grow one harvest a year during the rainy season. You might be wondering how activities affect the quality and availability of soil given the number of human activities that use soil. Well, number one is agricultural activities. Waste dispose hazardous chemicals that get into the soil can harm plants when they take up contamination through their roots. If humans eat plants and animals that have been in contact with such polluted soils, there can be a negative effect on their health. Next is pesticides, are diverse groups of chemicals used to control insects and other organisms harmful to cultivated plants and animals. Number two is industrial activities, and under that is mining. The soils from mining areas were characterized by high pH, poor soil quality, and high level of trace of metals contamination in many areas of the world. Next is soil erosion and sedimentation from construction sites. Construction activities such as grading, filling, reduce soil quality on construction sites, hazardous chemicals that get into the soil. And lastly is waste dumping. Deteriorating soil quality and decrease in vegetation abundance are grave consequences of open waste dumping, which have resulted in growing public concerns. So there are of course ways to protect and conserve soil resources for future generations, such as number one, contour farming, number two, reduce use of chemical fertilizers, number three, reduce, reuse, recycle of materials, number four is strip cropping, and lastly is crop rotation. Crop rotation helps them improve the earth's structure with diverse root systems, to mitigate pest establishments, and to add nitrogen to land with legumes known as nitrogen-fixing plants. So now that we know the importance of energy, water, and soil resources, a lot of you may want to know how do people in our community generate different types of waste, solid, liquid, and gaseous, as they make use of various materials and resources in everyday life. My answer to your question is solid waste includes solid portions of discarded materials such as glass, bottles, crockeries, plastic containers, metals, and the biodegradable solid waste are agricultural waste, food waste, paper, food processing byproducts, and the non-biodegradable waste include plastics, metals, and synthetic materials. Solid waste management involves disposal of solid waste to land or ocean or recovering and reproducing useful substances from waste through recycling. The methods for generating solid waste are collection, disposal, and lastly, resource recovery that can become a new material that can be used for resources. Liquid waste is a part of waste liquid materials from industries, agricultural fields, and other sources. There are a lot of ways to manage liquid waste such as sewage treatment, cleaning toxic waste from the water, or biological and chemical mechanical treatments that occur in the process. Next is gaseous waste is generated in environment through anthropogenic activities and can cause serious environmental hazards. This can be managed by using cleaning devices like gravity setters, cyclone separators, wet collectors, electrostatic precipitators, and etc. The gaseous waste include carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbon, oxygen, and sulfur. Do you also want to know the different types of waste that affect people's health and the environment? Well, just about time I answer your question. The waste humans generate has been detrimental to our environment for some quite now. The burning of large open piles of trash in various parts of the world emits dangerous levels of carbon dioxide. People may have diseases such as asthma, birth defects, cancer, cardiovascular disease, or bacteria. In wildlife, due to the improper waste disposal of humans to water causes an effect on marine lives. And lastly, the health of the public is at risk through our inaction. Well, if there are problems, we surely have solutions to them. You may be curious on the ways for better and proper waste management for our community. Well, here, coordinating activities with other organizations that can help in improving the waste management within the community, and doing proper waste disposal by throwing trash in the proper place. Picking up trash that you can see on the streets can simply reduce the waste in the community as well. Well, there you go, students. Now that you know the importance of energy, water, and soil resources and how are they used, and there are also their negative effects on the environment, people, and animals, and how to take care of them for further use for upcoming generations. This is again Ashley Helena Nicole M. Trajano, your TED Talk speaker for today, ending with a quote by Theodore Roosevelt: "Two ways to destroy our natural resources, to skin and to exhaust the land instead of using it as to increase its usefulness, will result in the undermining of the days of our children, the very prosperity we ought right to hand down them, amplified and developed." Thank you.